There has been a lot of reports going on lately about Diontae Johnson and his situation in Pittsburgh, saying that he is pissed off about it and that his future with the team is now in doubt coming up for next season. Before I get into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on Steelers content. Let's get back into it. So far with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Diontae Johnson's tenure has been bumpy, really up and really down. It's either he has really good highs or he has really low lows, and the fans get on him sometimes, but also the organization hasn't really helped him out in terms of a quarterback. And just recently, a beat writer for the Pittsburgh Steelers thinks the polarizing wide receiver Diontae Johnson could be out of Pittsburgh really soon, as there's friction between the two, the organization and the wide receiver. But let's see exactly what he said. So the beat writer was Brian Batko, and he said this: with some of the stuff that went on with Diontae Johnson this year, it seems like there's a little bit more friction with him and the organization than in years past. And he said this about a potential trade with Diontae Johnson. So he said there's friction between the organization and Diontae Johnson. And then another reporter on the situation, Madden and Tim Benz, both said they're hearing the exact same thing about Diontae Johnson's situation in Pittsburgh being in doubt. Here's the quote: "I've heard Diontae Johnson's future is in doubt. I've heard whispers again that he's plans to have a hold-in again, like he did 2 years ago, because we're going into the last year of his contract and he's going to make a noise over Pickett at quarterback. I'm not a Diontae fan. I think he's mediocre and they pay them way too much. But if you're going to get rid of him because he's not a Pickett guy, I mean, come on." And then he continued on by saying this: "I guarantee we did not hear it from the same people. I guarantee you heard it from someone different. One thing people need to understand about the Steelers is that the organization has no secrets. Nothing that goes on there that somebody doesn't call me about, especially if someone has an axe to grind and I can help them grind it." So that quote is a very interesting one. From the perspective of Diontae Johnson might be doing a hold-in just like he did 2 years ago because he wants a different contract. But I'll cover that in a different video totally. But also in the report is that Diontae Johnson, he kind of is upset about the Steelers quarterback situation. And we already knew that. If you remember the interview that he did to close the season, he said many times that he wants Mason Rudolph to be the guy. So in that quote where he said that there's concern over Pickett being the guy at quarterback, it totally makes sense because Diontae Johnson has already said it in his own words. But then there's also a report going on by Ray Fittipaldo that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not going to be going down an extension road with Diontae Johnson, and they don't want to do that again. So that's another report from him. And then there's another report by Tim Benz again that the Pittsburgh Steelers have internal division which stems from the wide receiver room, and that has to do a lot with Diontae Johnson. So like I said, the quarterback and the wide receivers obviously go hand to hand, and the wide receivers already made it clear who they want to be the quarterback moving forward. It may not happen that way. As of right now, there's only one quarterback on the roster because Mason Rudolph and no other quarterback assigned besides Kenny Pickett. So there's a situation that's causing internal divide, is the report. And according to not just Tim Benz, but also Gary Dulack's report, a faction within the Steelers are advocating for Rudolph to be designated as a preferred quarterback, bypassing Kenny Pickett for the role. So that's what Gary Dulack had to say. And now going back to Tim Benz, he said this: "What I was told by a source is that there is a contingent within the Steelers organization that believes that franchise doesn't need to acquire giving Kenny Pickett another preferred chance to start after Mason Rudolph won over the locker room, particularly the wide receivers room." So that's the quote by him once again. And another one said this: "I can't imagine why, given that George Pickens had the 2 best games of his season with Rudolph at quarterback, and Johnson had a 7-game stretch of failing to reach 65 yards, which was eventually snapped when Rudolph was at quarterback the last 2 games of the regular season. He had 89 and 76 yards in those last 2 games. End quote. So obviously you see the stats and why Diontae Johnson would prefer Mason Rudolph, because he's actually getting the ball. Why George Pickens would prefer Mason Rudolph, because he's actually getting the ball. And these reports are not just coming by one person. I just read you 4 different people, beat writers and just reporters or guys who are on the radio talking about the situation, that are covering it, that are saying all the exact same things about Diontae Johnson and his situation in Pittsburgh and how he's frustrated about it. But it's not just about him and his contract overall, it's also about what the Steelers' plans are doing at the quarterback position. And let me just talk about it really quickly and give my thoughts, because I said at the beginning of the video that the Steelers really haven't done right by Diontae Johnson, other than giving him that big contract when they didn't really need to, because his play really didn't match it. But looking at Diontae Johnson, and I'm saying that the Steelers didn't do right by him, is because look at the quarterback situation Diontae Johnson has had in his career. He's had to play with Mason Rudolph in his rookie season, Duck Hodges, who's now out in the league. He had to play with Big Ben in his final 2 seasons where he couldn't throw the ball down the field anymore. And then they drafted Kenny Pickett and had to play with him for 2 years as well. And not only with him, he had to play with Mitchell Trubisky. And now back to Mason Rudolph again. So you look at the quarterback situation that Diontae Johnson has had in his career. If you put him with any other quarterback that's actually able to throw the ball on target, on time, and down the field, his numbers would be totally different. If you put him in a better situation with a better QB, Diontae Johnson might actually be a number 1 wide receiver. But because of the situation in Pittsburgh, I'm saying that the Steelers failed to give him that chance. And now they're kind of trying to move off of him. For the right reason too, though. Because you could only hold on to a wide receiver for so long, and there's no point of keeping him if the quarterback situation is not going to get better. He's just not magically going to lift up the quarterback. The quarterback obviously has some easy throws when they give it to Diontae Johnson because he can run upfield. But other than that, there's no point of paying him a big contract once again if the quarterback situation is not solved. And that's my point right there. But also, my next point is this. Many people are saying trade Diontae Johnson. Trade Diontae Johnson. Well, you have to think about it like this. The Steelers, if they trade him, who's going to be their number 1B or number 2 wide receiver, which Diontae Johnson fills right now? You look at that, and the next wide receiver they have on the roster is Kwon Austin. So, will they go out and actually spend money on a big-time receiver to help the quarterback? Or are they going to be with a downplayed wide receiver as the number 2 guy? You have to think about it like that. But then also you have to think about it like this. What assets are they really going to get back? What draft compensation are they really going to get back for Diontae Johnson, who's in the final year of his contract? And they know that he wants a big extension. So what are they going to get? They're not going to get a 2nd round pick like they got for Chase Claypool. If they did, the Steelers would be not really smart to not take it. They would take that immediately if they would get a 2nd round pick for Diontae Johnson. But that's probably out the window. Knowing that he's in the final year of his contract, needs a big extension, I would say the best they would get is a late 3rd or 4th. I would say a 4th is usually what it would get for Diontae Johnson if they try to trade him. But if they could get anything else, like a 2nd, of course, a 1st, of course, I would say trade him immediately, because then you could obviously use that draft pick to go draft a wide receiver, or use money to spend on a wide receiver and use that draft somewhere else to help your team. But that's usually not the situation. That Chase Claypool trade to the Bears was a total fleece. And now Diontae Johnson, the teams are going to be wary about it because of how big of a fleece it was to get a 2nd round pick for Chase Claypool, which ended up being JPJ. But this whole total report about Diontae Johnson being frustrated with the Steelers and the end may be near for the team, I don't really see a trade happening unless they're just trying to move off of that money that he's making this season and spend it somewhere else. Other than that, I think he's still going to stick with the team. A contract might not come up in terms of an extension, but I still think heading into next season, he'll be on the team, even though all the reports are saying that his future in Pittsburgh, the end is near. But this is a report done by multiple people, multiple reporters like Tim Benz, Ray Filipaldo, Madden, and also Gary Dulac. are reporting on basically the exact same thing. So this is my thoughts as well on the situation. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe the end should be near with Diontae Johnson? Do you think they should move off of him? Do you think they should stay with him? And who do you think the quarterback should be based off the wide receivers' wants? Do you think they should listen to the wide receiver and go Mason Rudolph or a different quarterback? Or do you think they should go with the franchise guy, Kenny Pickett? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you like Steelers content, analysis, and reports. Turn on notifications for this channel so you never miss out. Click that bell down below. And also, I'll post videos every single day covering everything Steelers. It doesn't matter what it is, breaking news, everything. And if you want to stay up to date throughout the offseason, free agency, and draft, this is the spot for it. I'm also going to be covering this Diontae Johnson more in depth of his contract down the road in a few days. So, I'll see you guys all later. Till the next video, I'm out. Peace.